Hello faithful viewers and welcome back to another review. This time we are looking at another fourth party Transformer. This is the Mechanical Alliance Dark Commander, and if it wasn't obvious, this is a Nemesis Prime redeco of the Bumblebee movie Studio Series Voyager class Optimus Prime. Now, as Optimus really only appeared in that movie in a Cybertronian configuration, you maybe would expect him to adopt a Cybertronian vehicle mode, but here we are with an Earth vehicle mode, and he's representative of his G1 version, so this is a G1 cab that he turns into, and I think it's pretty good here, honestly. The Nemesis Prime deco really does work for this. Yeah, standard flat cab, black is the primary colour, you have silver grills along the front and silver lineage along the side, and really nice translucent red windows. You can't really see anything when you look into them, but it's just nice to have that, the colour red to break up all of the black and silver. All of the colours really complement each other really nicely, so that's good. There isn't too terribly much to say about this vehicle mode because it is just your standard flat cab. There's not a lot going on, but as you can see here, it does offer some really interesting weapon storage. So this is the big blaster that good old Dark Commander, Nemesis Prime, whatever you want to call him, comes with, and it does slot really nice and snugly into the trailer hitch. You just plug in the handle all the way until it stops wobbling about, just like that. So just yank it out. We'll take a very quick look at this. So hopefully you can see this. Hopefully it's focused up enough. Again, there's not too terribly much going on here, but it is quite a nicely sculpted thing. It's just a big bit of black plastic. Unfortunately, there's no paint that helps break up any of the mundanity here, but it does have some good detail in it. You've got a nice little magazine there. It's not removable, it's just stuck in. You've got some 8mm pegs on the sides here, as well as a handle with some ribbed effect going on here, so that's quite cool. The blaster barrel itself, slightly hollow. It's not hollow all the way through, but that's a little bit interesting. And yeah, it's just a cool little gun. Again, not too terribly much to say about it. So we'll pop it aside. We'll take another look at good old Convoy Prime Commander, whatever you want to call him. Now, you can kind of see that he doesn't join up a lot here. And this is because my copy has a few defects, and it might be a common thing with this mould in general. Bear in mind, once again, it is a fourth party figure, so it's not an officially licensed product by Hasbro. So you always run the risk about stuff like this happening, and mine does have a couple of defects. I don't know if it's a general thing with Dark Commander, or if it's just, unfortunately, the pick of a draw for me. But the two little mould defects I have are right here, and of course that. As you can see, these don't plug in together properly. I don't particularly know what's causing it, if it's just the type of plastic it is or some other issue, but and it's not a big deal. These all plug in where they're meant to go in, and it just don't connect at the back there. A little bit of a pity. For me, the more egregious one is this little bit here, but even then it's not that egregious. So what the issue is exactly is specifically this thing here, and it's the fact that it is identical to its counterpart on the other side of the robot here. It's not meant to be. This is meant to be flipped. So this larger connection bit here should be on the other side, basically. And because this is identical to that, it's not allowing this to sit fully flush properly in vehicle mode, and thus it's preventing this side of the cab from fully tabbing in properly everywhere. It's not too big of a deal because you probably didn't notice it until I pointed it out. And things tab together decently, it just doesn't make it perfect. So it's a small little nitpick, and I don't know if I could get a replacement part for it. I don't know how to go about replacing it either. It would probably be more hassle than it's worth. It's something I'm willing to live with. It's just a little bit of a pity, but it's not a deal breaker in the end. So before we move on to transformation, I will offer a very quick comparison to another G1 style Optimus Prime from the movies. So this is Evasion Mode Optimus Prime from the Age of Extinction toy line. You can check out the review for that guy over in the top corner if you want a more in-depth look at him. And yeah, they're both very interesting representations of Prime if he were in a live-action G1 form. In terms of which cab I think is best, that's a tough one because they're both pretty nice. They are, as you can see, very similar in terms of size. If we tilt up like that, we can see our Studio Series representation on the left is just a bit taller than the Age of Extinction offering. But yeah, which is better? I think maybe Dark Commander here just gets it. Just because of the, I suppose, the detail. And it maybe looks a little bit more realistic than this one. That's not to knock this one at all. This is a very good cab mode. But there's just something really awesome about this. It could also be the colour. I don't know. They're good. They look good together. One other thing I will just mention about this guy before we turn him into robot mode is that he's constructed out of die-cast metal. You can do this if you watch Jobby the Hong's videos. He has a cold touch technique, so you can tell die-cast metal because it feels cold on the hand. And from the feel of it, it's mostly centered in this cab, but I reckon there's a high possibility that the entire thing is made out of die-cast metal. And that's quite interesting considering that the official version of this figure, the Optimus Prime that Hasbro released, isn't die-cast. So that would insinuate that this has a higher quality build to it. Moving on to the transformation, it should be noted that it is precisely the same as the Studio Series Bumblebee movie Optimus Prime, so if you're familiar with that, then you should be familiar with this. The first thing to begin with is the back of the cab. So what we want to be doing is disconnecting these back panels and just bringing them all the way down and out like that. So while we do so, take these grey pieces and just fold them out like that. And then we can come to the legs and just disconnect them. Then take the trailer hitch, push that in, and then swing these inside panels all the way out like that, whilst continuing just to bring these shin pieces down and into place. Turning our attention to the feet proper, as we bring them all the way back, we want to be spinning them, well, spinning this foot that way, and then this foot that way, and then place your thumb on the back bumper and keep it pinned against the back as we push the rest of the foot forward, and that gets it into its correct orientation. And then it's just a matter of trying to tab this higgledy-piggledy mess all together here. But we also want to be coming to a couple of black pieces up against the top of the legs on the back, folding them down, and they'll fill in the backs of the legs. And then, like I said, just make sure everything is tabbed together properly. To finish off the legs, take these tanker bits on the side, just hopefully push them in, just like that, to fill in these gaps. And then you can take these black pieces here, along the side, and just rotate them up. And there you have the legs all done. Turning our attention to the top of the cab here. This is kind of where it gets a little bit complicated because this will just kind of explode. First of all, take the front grille and all of that and bring it down and out of the way. Just hang it as far down as you possibly can because we're going to need all of this room up here. Everything is interconnected, so as soon as we start opening up bits, it's just going to explode, as I said. So take these top side panels here and just hang them down, and then take these, swing them up and out. I'm just going to maneuver that slightly just to allow it to get up. Then what we can do is take the windows and lever them out and to the side. I'm also going to take these bits and just fold them in, nice and cozy. We're going to continue with the arms, and we're just going to rotate them out G1 Optimus Prime style, as you would probably expect. I feel like this has gotten caught on something. There we go. If you haven't also already, take these silver panels and just fold them out, and that'll allow you to fully move the arm out of the way. What we're going to try and do is have these as horizontal as we possibly can, because we're going to end up spinning this entire top section. We can see that the head is on the back here. We're going to pull this completely out and away. This can be a little bit scary because it is jammed in there really tightly, but you want to be unclipping it on this hinge and just have it all the way down. Keep everything flat because we need the room. We definitely need the room. I'm also trying to keep the orientation like this because of the spinning function. So hopefully we have everything out of the way, and we're going to attempt this. So spin it. It's very possible that things are going to get snagged on one another. I might even bring that panel out slightly. There we go. We got it. I'm going to fold that silver bit just back in now, because we don't need it. And then I'm going to move all of this, just clearing it up so we can hinge this bit connected there back on itself. Maybe a good back view would be best. Just try and get it in. We're just straightening him up, basically. And now it's just a case of neatening as much of this as we can. So we're going to, and hopefully you'll be able to see this without much difficulty, we're going to take this top panel here. Now I have slightly damaged this in trying to do this transformation because I was pulling on the wrong bit, but you can see there's a little bit of gappage there. Don't pull on that. You want to be getting your nail or something really thin and pulling on a very tiny paper thin slot here, so your nail should be enough, and pull that panel out of the way. If you do damage it, and this is unfortunately what I've done, and you really won't be able to make this out because of the focus problems on this camera, but it's kind of like a thin bit of metal, because remember this is die-cast metal. By pulling or by jamming this in here, I have unfortunately started to warp and crack this little bit. Now, thankfully, this little bit here is not a vital piece of the transformation mechanism. So if it does break on you, if you do make the mistake that I have, it shouldn't, in theory, compromise anything. The only sour effect it'll have is in vehicle mode, there will be a slight gap here, but nothing major connects into it that I can see, so if it does break, it's not going to be the end of the world, thankfully. So take this panel and fold it all the way back, and I'm going to try and clear up his back as much as I can now. I'm going to rotate these tyres, and it would help if you could see, wouldn't it? I'm going to rotate these tyres in like that whilst trying to keep these arms out. And just make sure everything is flat as I push this up, and it should just connect into place and line up with that panel that we've just folded back. Then I'm going to take this opportunity to bring the head up and just snap it into place, and now we can close up his chest just like that. I'm going to collapse these pieces down and in on themselves, and then we're going to finish up with the arms, where we're going to just close up these panels, and then we're going to hold him at the elbow joint, grab the forearm and rotate it so that the silver is facing the front. Do that on the other side and we're done. So Dark Commander in robot mode is pretty cool. This is a really nice redecoed representation of Optimus Prime from the Bumblebee movie. I do really like this black and silver and this turquoise blue combination that's going on here. Still love how the red translucent windows on the front gives him kind of this devilish evil kind of vibe going on. We can see on the robot mode here some really nice detail for where his abs would be, a really nicely detailed head with painted red eyes and good intense detail on his face as well. And yeah, we can see some extra detail now where the shins are that were hidden in the robot mode. Just good stuff. Immaculately sculpted. Excellent. And just to give you a full 360 view, everything does clean up really nicely despite the complexity of the transformation, and it is reasonably complex just because of how it all explodes and stuff gets hindered on one another. He doesn't have anything really of a backpack. It all collapses and hides perfectly. Very impressive figure, and you can really feel the die-cast metal on his chest, on my thumb here. Very much present there. Good stuff. Moving back to his weaponry, he can of course hold his blaster in his hand just like that. Really snug fit. Excellent stuff. You can also, if you are so inclined, store the weapon on his back. There are a couple of holes there. You can push it in like that, or you can use the other tabs near the stock and plug it in diagonally like that. Good weapon storage of this figure, both in robot mode and in vehicle mode. Sure, the vehicle mode weapon storage is a bit on the nose, but still. In terms of articulation, Dark Commander Nemesis Prime can rotate his head a full 360 degrees. He can't really look up and down with it though. There's a slight little bit of wobble, but there's nothing too grandiose going on. He can rotate his arms at the shoulders only really about that much. That's his gun I've just popped off. Whoop-de-doo. Okay, I tell a lie. You can do 360 if you move these panels up and out of the way. He can push his arm out that far. He can rotate it at the other arm a full 360, and he has a nice 90-degree bend out the elbow as well. His fists are capable of swiveling 360 degrees round also, so excellent arm articulation all round. He doesn't really have an ab crunch because everything here is plugged into but stopping that from folding, but there is a joint there for transformation. And the waist, he can turn his waist if all of this kibble doesn't hinder him. All the way around, excellent. He has a beautiful spread like that. He can kick his leg up a full 90 degrees, beautiful. He can't really kick his leg back though, which is a bit disappointing. At the knee, he's a solid bend, excellent stuff. He can rotate each individual leg round at the top, a full 360, and then he's got a ball joint at the ankle, so a full range of foot articulation. So overall for articulation, Nemesis Prime here, Dark Commander, excellent. For a cheeky size comparison, here is our Dark Commander against Age of Extinction Evasion Mode Optimus Prime, so you can see how two G1 inspired Optimus Primes stand against one another. And I actually think that Nemesis on the left looks better. In terms of the overall figure, maybe I'd personally have a preference for Evasion Mode Prime on the right, but certainly visually Nemesis here looks 1,000 times more appealing. But yeah, both Voyager class figures, the old style figure is at least half a head taller than a more modern figure here, but you can see how they look together. And here is our Dark Commander up against the Barway Star Leader, who is a fourth party version of the Studio Series number 5 Optimus Prime from the first 3 films. And yeah, I mean, these aren't, I don't believe these are from the same fourth party company at all. But hey, they could be for all I know. They could have just rebranded themselves to avoid copyright procedures. Oh, but it's interesting with now being able to compare two Studio Series Optimus Primes up against one another. Similar in terms of head height. I think this guy is just slightly taller. Both are impressive in their own right. Of the two, which do I prefer? Oh, that's tough. That's quite tough. I maybe do lean more towards this guy despite the complexity of transformation, but then again, neither of them are more complex than one another. They're both the same level of intensity, I think. But yeah, you can see right here how they stack up against each other in terms of height. So there we go, that is our review of the Mechanical Alliance Dark Commander, aka Nemesis Prime, a version of Optimus from the Bumblebee movie. Overall, I do think that this is quite a splendid figure. The transformation aside, I think the transformation, while it's not overly complicated, it is finicky, but it's not that difficult if you know what you're doing. Otherwise, certainly in terms of articulation and colour and deco and detail, this figure is quite beautiful. He's grades above a lot of other stuff that comes out in terms of Transformers. And besides, this fourth party figure, let's get that correct, this fourth party figure also has the benefit of die-cast metal, so he just has a bit more of a premium touch to him, which is funny considering he is not an official one and the official one doesn't come with die-cast metal. So in some regards, getting this guy or the Optimus Prime version of him, because there is an Optimus Prime version of him that exists also, the point I'm trying to make is maybe getting them is slightly better than getting the Hasbro version. But like I did say in the Bahrain review, I am more inclined to promote the official product rather than a fourth party figure. So at your own discrepancy, get this one. I do give it a thumbs up and I do recommend it, not least because it's cheaper than, the Hasbro one, but also die-cast metal, so it's just a tiny bit better in terms of quality overall. There are a few defects, but I think it's more likely I just got a bad pick. I've had a look at a few of the reviews for this guy and I've not seen them have the same quality control issues as my one, so I think it's just unfortunate for one that I've ended up with, but that's not to knock him too harshly. Overall, it is quite an excellent figure. Articulation again, wonderful. Detail and paint, wonderful. And the quality of the figure itself, wonderful. So yeah, I do recommend him. And that is the review for you. So thank you everybody so much for stopping by and checking out this video. Like and subscribe if you haven't already, and share around to help out the channel. And until the next time, see you all later.